Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes for agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Alan Levings, Managing Partner of Growth Foundry. How are you doing today, Alan?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Appreciate you coming on.
Dude, happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
No problem. Let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey and what made you start your own business and get into this business, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today inside Growth Foundry.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started my career working in restaurants. I worked in restaurants for 15 years and serving in flair bartending, performance bartending on the Las Vegas Strip. And I was a chef. I trained as a chef for 5 years. So anybody that follows me on social media, they see my food and stuff all the time. You know, I just realized that, like, I think my whole life, man, I felt like an entrepreneur and felt like I was going to own my own business or wanted to own my own business. And, you know, I realized that eventually, you know, running restaurants are hard. Owning a restaurant is hard, and you got to take time away from your family. You got to be there nights and weekends and holidays and all this stuff. And I just was like, man, I don't want to be a part of that anymore. And I discovered SEO. I was going to college to be an accountant. So my degree is in accounting and finance, but, while I was there, I ended up taking a web design class for, you know, various reasons, just thinking, I've got to fill this space. Let me do something kind of nerdy. That's kind of who I am. And then fell in love with web design. I was like, man, I kind of want to be a web designer and do that. And cool. And then found out, well, you don't go get a job as a web designer. You start your own business. That's kind of the only way you do it. I was like, all right, well, how am I going to market and find clients? I can't afford billboards and TV commercials and all of that. And came across SEO. I was like, okay, I'll try learning SEO. Actually, but my current business partner, I hit him up one day and he had just released this course, Local Profit Breakthrough, for anybody that knows Mark Luckenbaugh. And so he just released this course and he had this Facebook group. And I was like, well, man, I got to figure this out. So I hit him up one day and was just like, hey, dude, I know you don't know me. Dude, I see the value of your course. I'm broke. I got no money. Can I do, like, what could I do to earn a spot in local? But like, how could I earn this? I can't pay for it, but dude, I'll do data entry for you. I'll come to your house and sweep your floors, whatever. And he was just like, well, let me give you a few videos to point you in the right direction. I was like, awesome, man. Thank you so much. And then next thing I know, I get a full access username and password to Local Profit Breakthrough. I was like, what is this? And he was like, I got you, bro. You know, it's just great, dude. And then the next day, his business partner at the time, Matt Sack, hit me up and was like, hey, we got this other course coming out. Couple of weeks, you want it? And I was like, yeah. And so anyways, so that's kind of how I started learning SEO. And then my brother had come home from the military and was having a hard time getting jobs. You know, what he did in the military doesn't really translate to civilian life, but he ended up joining this plumbing company. He was like, hey, I know you're getting into this SEO thing and, you know, things are kind of slow, and is there anything you can do to help? And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. You know, I don't know much, but sure, I'll try it. And then like 3 months later, he was like, calling me up. He's like, dude, can you turn it off? We're too busy. Like, we've tripled our staff. And I was like, whoa, that's super cool. Right. So my brother, who was having a hard time taking care of his family, all of a sudden was like, I'm so busy. My head is spinning and I'm making so much money, but dang, I'm not getting any sleep. And that felt really good, man. It felt really good to help a military veteran. You know, he went to Iraq, came home struggling, and I helped him. And it felt great. I was like, dude, man, I want to help businesses do that. That's what I want to do. And so, yeah, so I just turned to SEO and kind of over time got more and more into it, was doing it on the side. I was doing IT for a bank, for a mortgage branch. And finally, you know, Mark Luckenbaugh calls me up one day. He's like, hey, I got these guys out of Utah. They're super good guys. They're looking for some help with SEO. What do you think? And I was like, yes. So I ended up working with them for a little while and then hooked up with Mark again and ended up starting our own agency. So now I've partnered up with Mark, which is great. He's, you know, a guy I really look up to both personally and professionally. And so, yeah, that's kind of a long journey and kind of a weird journey, but here I am.
Yeah. No, that is some journey, definitely. Starting off like in the hospitality industry and then realizing not really for you, trying accounting and then thinking, not really sure about that either. And then to stumble upon web design and then SEO and then an act of faith to ask somebody like, hey, I'll do anything. Just please give us a shot. And him also having faith in you as well. Do you know what I mean? To start that. And I'm guessing that was a while ago. And now fast forward.
Yeah.
Now you're business partners together. So it just shows how, you know, having that courage to do them sort of type of things and to follow where your heart goes or what you want to do is, you know, and led you, and obviously rewind a little bit, but you know, listening to the market, helping somebody like your brother, I think you said it was, doing
Hmm.
plumbing, and then to hit all them calls, that was your proof of purchase type of thing. Do you know what I mean? To be like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is a proof of concept, sorry, and then this is exactly what I want to do. So yeah, no, definitely an incredible story. So what does your
Thanks, man.
role look like today inside Growth Foundry?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm the managing partner at Growth Foundry. So I oversee all the day-to-day operations. I've got a couple other partners and they help me a tremendous amount. But, for the most part, I'm responsible for kind of the health and well-being of the company as a whole. Day-to-day operations, hiring and firing, finances, payroll, all of that strategy, all of that stuff. So they own a couple other businesses and so they're a little bit all over the place, working there, working there. So they can't be here 24/7 like I can. So they rely on me to do that. And then I lean on them for help in a variety of ways. And they're
Yeah,
always there for me, which is great.
the meat and bones, you're the one running the whole thing, making sure the ship steers in the right direction, so to
That's it.
speak.
Yeah, that's it.
So what are the biggest trends that you're seeing inside the market today?
Yeah. I mean, obviously AI is a big thing, right? It's coming in and everybody's got their AI solution and chat bots and this and that and this and that. So AI is huge. I think it's got some people nervous. You know, I think though AI is really going to help those who learn to use AI well are going to flourish in the world of AI. And those people that are just task workers and just sort of completing menial tasks are probably they're going to need to figure out what they're going to do, either become efficient with AI and start learning how to use it, or I tell my team from time to time, like, we got to adapt or die. SEO, digital marketing changes so much every month. There's an algorithm update. Facebook updates its ad policies with the Andromeda update, and Google LSA is now combining with GBPs, and you never know when that stuff's going to happen. So you've got to adapt quick or die. And I think that's kind of where we're at. I also think this sort of world where you can rely on one channel and win is quickly leaving. And so for our clients, we talk to them a lot about, hey, yeah, we're doing your SEO, but you've got to get into PPC, you've got to get into LSA, you've got to get into Meta, you've got to be all over the place. Google's getting really good at figuring out who's a real brand and who isn't, who's the lead gen guys, and real brands will win. And real brands do a variety of marketing channels, right? Nike isn't just relying on TV commercials. They've got billboards, they've got SEO, they've got radio, they're sponsoring athletes, they're doing all this stuff. Same thing, Facebook, Google, all of them. And so we have to emulate that. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things we're seeing right now. It's just this need to diversify your marketing.
Yeah, I feel like that'll be a good thing for brands as well, and businesses,
Mhm.
to have a multi-channel approach as being like a standardized thing. And
Yeah.
because also if one goes down, do you know what I mean? Then you're still there across multiple channels. With us being so reliant on tech, there's always it wasn't too long ago where we couldn't get in. There was like a day where some hackers got into some few different things, and we couldn't get onto like ChatGPT and things like that. So like there probably will be in the future these type of things. So the more multi-channel they are, definitely it's better for them. But
Well, even
how?
just 2 weeks ago, Cloudflare went down and half the internet was
Yeah.
down. Cloudflare went down again this morning.
Mm,
I don't know if you guys know, but it went down again this morning and half of our client sites went down for an hour. It was at 3 o'clock in the morning, luckily.
yeah.
But the flat, when it went down a couple weeks ago, it was down half the day. And
Mm.
clients that were relying only on their websites, they weren't getting calls.
Go exactly. Do you know what I mean that's proofs in the pudding there? Yeah, my fiance did tell me this morning because she's a social media manager on
Hmm.
Instagram and TikTok and things like that. And she did tell me this morning that Instagram was down, but luckily it was not in. It was a middle of the night type of thing for us or early
Yep.
morning. But yeah,
That's good.
that's just proofs in the pudding right there. So like, how are you as a company adapting to AI and that's changed?
Yeah. Man, we're doing a lot of just studying, testing, taking all the courses, testing. You got to do a lot of testing. I think some people they see their favorite guru say a thing and they, yeah, that's what you got to do. And maybe it is what you got to do. And I'm not talking trash on the gurus. A lot of times they're right, sometimes they're wrong, just like we all are. But I think you have to do a lot of testing. And so we do a lot of testing. We're starting to build a lot of tools with AI where we can automate certain things and free up more time for our writers, our on-page SEO people, our PPC people, so that they can become more efficient. And I think that's really allowing us to offer a more robust product without having to jack up our prices. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Automation, I feel like, is the first like step for what people should take into AI because it's very easy to wrap your head around it. I feel like, other than easy, as opposed to some of the other AI things where it's like, how is it doing that? Do you know what I mean? But automation, just
Right.
pushing things from one process through to the other to speed up and get more efficient, I feel like
Hmm.
is the best way to start. Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, for
And like,
sure.
obviously, it's so beneficial as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, because if it makes you 10% more efficient, 20% more efficient, you can, and your team can spend time on doing more creative things, and
Hmm.
like serving the client more in that way.
Yep.
Medial tasks that take a long time, like writing first drafts of things, do you know what I mean? Or like with some ad companies, like making ads, sometimes they've got to make so many ads that one of them will hit. But if you can leverage AI to you make the one copy that you think's really good, and they can just duplicate it with different changes, then I
Yeah,
mean, you're not wasting time doing things like that. I feel like that'll be a really good way to use up time, to speed up time and
for
that.
sure.
So what is working well at Growth Foundry, and where are you still feeling slight friction?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, a lot of things are working well. Some of the friction points right now would be probably, I think some of the bigger ones are like in paid advertising.
Mm.
Facebook just put up their Andromeda update a couple of months ago, which is requiring us to just put up a lot more creatives. You used to be able to put a few up, find one that works, run it for a little while and fine. But Facebook really wants so many more creatives and so much ad variation now. Every 30 days you've got to put up 15 or 20 variations. And so, while we're able to keep up with that, it is more difficult and we're trying to find ways to, make that more efficient and stuff. So I think that's probably one of our biggest friction points right now. And then the other friction point, which I think everybody's experiencing, is just a sort of zero click where the AI overview is answering the question. So people aren't having to click through the website. Fortunately, I'm in a lot of local services. So either way, you're going to have to call my client. But I think for those guys that are like an e-com or affiliate, they're probably feeling that a lot more than we are. But it's still affecting us even for local services. So.
So is that like, so they go onto the website and then they answer their questions through a chatbot? Is that what you mean?
Well, even what I mean is like the AI overview in Google, right? So if you just
Uh,
go searching for roofer near me, you get that block at the top. And so for us, it doesn't affect us as much, but it doesn't allow us to have, on the website, we've got sales copy. We get to tell you
mhm,
why we're the best. We get to tell you how long we've been in business, all that. The AI overview doesn't allow us to do that. So it becomes a little bit harder to sort of sell yourself when you've got this gatekeeper sort of preventing you from
mhm,
telling the people. And instead, you've got to, we've shifted to telling clients like, you have to get more reviews because that's the one thing that AI is showing people. How well review are they? And not just on Google, but on Angie, on Home Advisor, on Facebook, on Yelp, on all of those places. So now it's where we used to say, get as many Google reviews as you can. Now we're saying, spread them out. And clients are kind of, man, how do I know how to spread them out? Yeah, I know. So
mhm.
that's a tough nut to crack, but can be done.
Also, if they're not clicking on the website, then it's hard to get your analytics of how many people are clicking. When if it comes up an overview and they're
Sure.
just calling straight, then obviously you're not getting your data, I suppose, to be able to tell the client, hey, it is working. They're calling before they click on the website.
Right. And we have to rely more on other tracking to like call tracking, right? So for my clients, calls are
Hmm.
paramount. Um, so we have to make sure we have our call tracking set up because we might look at the analytics and say traffic to the website is down, but then we can look at call tracking and say, but the calls are up. So we're just
Hmm.
getting better AI visibility. So people aren't coming through the website, but we're still getting calls or even getting more calls, which is great.
And are you also focusing, even though I know it's quite medial right now, on the way the AI can recommend you through like ChatGPT and things like that?
Yeah, that's so hard to track though, right? Because everybody's going to ask the question a little bit differently. They're using their own language now. Before we used to just say best roofer near me, and that's what everybody searched for. And now
Yeah.
they're saying, hey chat, I've got a leak above my garage. Do I need to call a roofer or a handyman? And it's like, so we never know what the queries are going to be exactly. So tracking that's really, really, really hard. So, the best thing we can do is we know how to get people into AI overviews, at least as of right now. So we just have to focus on that. And then, like ChatGPT, when somebody clicks your link out of chat, it auto appends the like a tracking code so you can see when
Mhm.
people come in off of chat. But other than that, it's just about talking to the clients and, hey, where did you find us? How did you find us? And
Yeah.
all of that. But I don't know how people are going to figure out how to track actual, like what queries we're ranking for in AI, but I hope they do soon because
Even though it's only, well, from what I was told by for like SEO things are coming through that. But obviously, at the moment, that's correct. That might be correct, but I feel like it's going to be going up over time, especially how people use things like ChatGPT to as gospel. to tell them like, oh, this is this, and
Yeah.
give them to recommending you. Sometimes some people probably not even going onto Google, knowing, well, I'm sure Google are feeling it a little bit
Hmm.
because you could just ask the question there and get it more detailed, and then eventually it recommended you. So yeah, it's definitely one
For
to look out
sure.
for, I would say.
For sure.
So if you wouldn't mind, would you mind walking me through like how you gain clients? How do you reach out to
Hmm.
these different businesses?
Yeah. So right now we've got a couple of channels. Our primary channel is just Facebook marketing, like meta ads.
Hmm.
Um, that's why I talked about Andromeda and having to put
Mm,
up so many of these creatives all the time. So most of our leads, a large portion of them will come through that. We've also got some white label partnerships that we've developed with a handful of people. And so they bring us in some business, and then a little bit of organic Facebook, just posting on Facebook, reaching out to people, having conversations, helping others, trying to provide value. And then, they come in, but those last two are a smaller portion of our lead sources. But for the most part, it's Facebook ads right now.
yeah, Facebook ads is such a good one because so many people are on Facebook. A lot of people, some
Hmm.
people would be like, "Oh, I didn't know that Facebook ads would work B2B," but they do. Do you know what I mean? Of course,
Hmm.
because I think I can't remember the exact number, but there's like nearly billions of people, with billion people nearly on Facebook nowadays. So it's like
Right.
you're reaching out to so many people, and even if they don't have a business account, they definitely have a personal account. So where do you want to be in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of business, Alan?
Yeah. Next 12 to 18 months, obviously more revenue, right? Who doesn't want more revenue? And I think more revenue, less overhead, being more efficient with AI. I'd like to have, a good portion of the menial task work automated out. And we have portions of that now. We're still working on building those tools. So I think that that's probably what we're looking for. How do I provide a better service without having to raise prices significantly on my clients? How can I help them grow their businesses? Because for me, ultimately, the goal is to help other businesses grow, because then they can give back to their communities by hiring people, by sponsoring charity events, by
Mm.
tithing to their church if that's what they do. There's a lot they can do within their communities. So marketing is a great way for me to help communities all over the country, all over North America, instead of just my community. So I think being able to offer the best product, the most robust product I can, without having to charge an exorbitant fee. There's SEO companies out there, they're charging 10 grand a month for some of these niches and stuff. And it's like, that's hard on any business owner. I don't care what niche you're in. So I think that's, yeah, the next 12 to 18 months, I'd like to have a large portion of the menial task work, the repetitive striking keys on a keyboard work automated out, so that my people can be more creative and doing the more creative things.
Age of it. So like where you're talking about scaling more pipeline, would you be able to take on more clients then, would you say?
Right. Oh,
Like,
today? Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And as we build more and more tools, it's just, I was talking to my project manager not too long ago, and it's funny, kind of counterintuitively, I put my staff on a 4-day work week instead of 5 days. So everybody works 4 10-hour days instead of 5 8s. And we actually improved our productivity by like 18% by doing that. So now we're putting out a little bit more content. We're building a few more links, things like that. Could definitely take on more clients today. Yeah, absolutely. And as we build more and more tools, we'll be able to take on more without having to increase our overhead.
People they, might replace you in a job, but more, yeah, the medial task, yeah, of course. But from a business point of view, I feel like it's just going to be able to, your team are going to be able to handle so much more. So where you might have
Hmm.
had like account managers looking after three, they're
Right.
optimized in a way that it's not overwhelming, that all the mundane things are taken over. So I feel like it's like a force multiplier. I say that a lot on this show,
Hmm.
but yeah, do you know what I mean? It'll allow people to work so much more efficiently and take on so much more of the load.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Alan, my last question is, if you could wave a magic wand and fix one bottleneck in your business, what would it be and why?
I think that goes back to the tool creation. If I could just, I
Uh,
mean, it's a bottleneck only in the sense of like, a lot of these tools are improving so quickly and new tools
uh,
are coming out all the time. So trying to figure out like, am I going to use N8N? Google just came out with their agents a couple
mhm,
of days ago. So now they've sort of trying to take on N8N. Do I use chat? Do I use Claude? Do I use Perplexity? Like
mm,
all of those things. And then once that decision's been made, now I've got to learn it, or somebody's got to learn it, and we've got to go through the trial and error of building it. There's a lot of people out there saying, oh, they're automation experts and all of that. But, I think it's still new enough that even the experts are in a learning phase a bit themselves, and things are changing so fast. Like it's hard to look at somebody and say, how could you possibly be an expert when ChatGPT alone looks wildly different than it did just 6 months ago. Maybe you're good at it. I'm not saying there aren't people that are good at it, but it just changes so fast. So I think my magic wand would be sort of that, like just building the tool. Okay, I have all the tools, all the automation tools would be sort of my thing.
But Alan, I just want to say thank you for coming on. I appreciate the insight into your business and everything else.
Thank you, man. It was good.
Where can our viewers and listeners reach out to you or hit up your business if, especially if we have viewers in America who are looking plumbers, electricians, people like that? Where can they hit
Yeah.
you up for SEO and all the other services?
You can get Facebook. You can reach out to me on Facebook if you want. Just Alan Levings, ALLEN LEVINGS, or you can go to growthfoundry.com, growthfoundry.com, and you can reach out to us there. Otherwise, I'm in all the groups and trying to interact with people and all that stuff. So just DM me and hit me up.
Well, everybody, there you have it. If you need SEO, paid ads for service-based businesses in the Americas, then hit up Alan. And everybody, could you like, comment, subscribe, send it to a friend, especially if they're looking for this type of content. It will be a big help. Thank you so much again, Alan, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, everybody.